This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by a very similar YouTube channel.
Google 4409 for a channel that is like mine. Well, a lot of folks have been talking about state secession lately around the country. It's been on the mainstream media a little bit now, and the idea is starting to become more mainstream. But I've never actually said too much recently about what I think about the whole idea of secession. As though what I think matters that much. Maybe it doesn't. But I like the idea of being on the record about this. I am actually technically on the record against it. Maybe in 2002 or 2003 is the last time I ever remember writing anything about it on the Free State forums. I wrote that I thought it was I thought it was a millstone and we should ditch the whole concept of even being associated with that. And believe it or not, as radical as I may be considered to be, I still, to some extent, have problems with the idea of secession. I'm a lot closer to Jason Soren's point of view now. Back in 2002 or 2003, he was in favor of the idea of using the leverage of potential secession as a way to gain more autonomy. Now, Quebec did that with the national government in Canada. They didn't so much lobby for more autonomy as it was they were lobbying for more benefits. And I think there was some autonomy that came along with that. And the same thing, I think, has worked out pretty well for Scotland. But neither of these places ever actually seceded. They got a lot of what they wanted simply by moving in that direction. And that would, to me, seem like the appropriate thing for New Hampshire to do. With secession being just a last resort, a type of leverage to bring the federal government back into the orbit of the people, at least. Maybe that's becoming a pipe dream as the federal government becomes more and more authoritarian. And maybe out and out secession will become the only option if we want to have a little bit of freedom in our lifetimes. Personally, I'd prefer that an accommodation could be reached with the federal government that keeps the United States in one piece, but that requires some positive action, or at least lack of action, on the part of the federal government. They would have to do something or stop doing certain things. Now, something I forgot to mention, one of the reasons I have qualms about secession, or about the states splitting up into 50 different pieces or something like that, is the security concern. Would we be able to, have security against foreign threats if we were to do that? Would foreign countries start taking advantage of the split-up United States? Maybe it's a red herring, but it's something that could be an issue. We have been invaded before by foreigners. So, I guess my position on secession is complex, but it's definitely something that's worth talking about, and I'm glad to see more and more states, more and more Americans discussing the idea, because it is sort of what we've been left with, is the only really resort we've got to win back our liberties, perhaps. Dave Ridley signing out for RidleyReport.com this March 29th, from the Republic of New Hampshire to be, perhaps.
This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by a very similar YouTube channel. To find them, just Google 4409 for a channel that is like mine. Google 4409 for a channel that is like mine.